Absolutely beautiful. Now, you currently serve as the Vice Chair of the South African Women's Basketball Association. What motivated you and the team, of course, to establish this association?
So I know you already interviewed our chairperson, 𝗙𝗶𝗹, on this subject, and she gave a great interview, and I really enjoyed watching that. And I'm sure she reflected on this as well. But during lockdown, we had a lot of time to spare, and a lot of people got to talking about a lot of different things. And one of the things that we reflected on as women in basketball in South Africa, there was a group of women who came together and felt that we needed to do more in the sport and together. We needed to get organized, and we needed to find a way to champion women's basketball better than it was presently being done. There have been a lot of challenges in the sport over the last couple of decades, but it was incumbent on us to be part of the solution, part of the support network that we could provide to the communities who are already operating in the space. So not necessarily to replace any structures, which I think is really important, but to collaborate and work effectively with those structures to see how we could boost this environment. And it is an NGO, it's registered as an NGO, and just to see how we could support various aspects, key aspects of what we want to see as women in this sport and the growth that we want to see in the sport. So, it's a work in progress. It's a lot of fun working with a very talented group of women. We've had so many board meetings, so many conversations about this, which has enabled to do quite a few different things. We've run some master classes to have very important discussions on our Facebook website. We last year also provided the national team with sneakers when they went to Lesotho. There was an under-17 national team that went to Lesotho to participate in the games there, and they qualified as part of that to go to a pan-regional competition. And so it was a small gesture, but we managed to just bring some money together to buy them sneakers, because not all the girls who participate in these national teams always have the resources and the kit that they need. And we'll try and continue to see how we can work with the federation to support them. We also recently did what we call a combine in Cape Town, at the University of Cape Town, for basically bringing a small group of elite basketball players together to do a training camp with the University of Cape Town. And I thought that partnership was very interesting, because in return to use the venue and to do that with them at their venue, they asked us to provide like a GBV workshop for the men's team. So I think it was a very innovative partnership and opportunity, and I'd love to see more of that and some of the other activities that we're trying to do.
Absolutely beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. What does women's leadership mean to you in sport?
So I think, a diversity of leadership is extremely important. Women have done tremendous work in sports in South Africa. I look at what's being done with the Netball Federation and the great strides that they've made there in terms of really taking netball to the next level with the professional league, with the success of the national team. I look at the work that 𝗀𝗨𝗋 is doing on the soccer side now with the women's teams and what she's trying to build there for that federation. And I think there is a great role that women can play in leadership in South Africa to bring women's sport more to the fore, provide more opportunities, especially because there's nobody who understands women's sport more than the women themselves and those who have played and coached and really participated in that. I think it's extremely important for them to give back and to grow this industry and the community, because sport is a great social cohesion tool, as we recognize as a nation, as Nelson Mandela recognized when he became president. And so I really think we need to embrace that diversity, not only within women's sports, but also within men's sports, because I think if we want to see successful and sustainable professional organizations, we need to value diversity. And that means we need to value women in leadership positions, because that's what's going to create leadership and sustainability within those organizations, because they bring a different perspective, they bring a different type of leadership. So I think ultimately, if we want to be able to become a global sports powerhouse, of which we, arguably one can say we are already on the continent, we have to be able to maintain and sustain that success by, embracing diversity in all its shapes and forms.
Absolutely beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about what lies ahead for you. What are some of the things that you would still like to achieve within the next 5 to 10 years?
So I'd really like to see the Basketball Africa League flourish beyond the starting point that we've been able to create. Initially, when we were going to start the league in March 2020, we were supposed to travel to 7 countries at the time. Unfortunately, our work had to stop because of COVID. We were able to go to Rwanda last year and do 1 city. This year, we're doing 3 cities, which is fantastic. I would love to see eventually get as close as we can to a home and away format. I think it's going to take a lot of time because every time we go to a new city, you really see the home crowd get behind that home team. And so I think we lose a little bit in the caravan model. But it, from a cost perspective, it's the best way for us to do it right now. So I really would like to see that league grow. I'd love to see South Africa continue to grow within the league and succeed. They've done very well coming out of Cairo now. They have qualified for the finals week, which is huge because South Africa doesn't do well in continental competition for Africa currently. So for us to have a team that's now qualified for the top 8 is really, it's making history. And I think it's great for the Cape Town Tigers to represent us in this way. So that to me is really important as a sports professional, to see that league grow and that opportunity grow. I would obviously love to see more happen for women in South Africa. I think, coming off of COVID, it's very challenging because a lot of sports activity had to stop. Women and girls tend to go back to the essential activities of home life. And so I think we've lost a lot of participation with young women during this time. And we need to regain their motivation and interest to be back into the sport of basketball and just generally to be part of that complex. And then we just need to move on to make sure that we can grow the national team. We would love to see South Africa participate in an Olympic event in the next 10 years. That's one of the goals that we've set for ourselves. And so we're working very hard to figuring out what that means from our perspective, how we can work with the Basketball South Africa Federation, the official federation, to make that dream a reality. So I think in the next 5 years, I'm going to be doing a lot in that space to make those things come true.
You're locked onto the Sport MVT Insider, a podcast for unrelenting coverage of women in sport. I absolutely love diving deeper into the journeys of our athletes, coaches, and administrators to get to know them a little bit better than we do. Coming up this Wednesday is an interesting round of quick fire questions, a great opportunity for some good laughs and some great banter. Keep it locked onto Sport MVT, where we celebrate our women in sport.